So today we will talk about iterative model. So this is the model where we don't start with full specification of requirements. In this model, we start with a simple implementation of a small set of the software requirement. We will start with a small set of software requirements, and then iteratively it enhances the versions until the complete system is implemented and ready to be deployed. So the most important thing here that it does not attempt to start with a full specification of requirements. It starts with specifying and implementing just part of the software, which is then reviewed to identify further requirements. So this is the iterative model. So you can see here that we will develop the system through repeated cycles and in a smaller portions at a time. So let me give you an example. Let's think about adding a new functionality of a login page. Okay, suppose you are creating a new login page. So what you will do, you will at first just create a form with just two simple buttons in one iteration. Okay, so in next iteration what you can do, that you can implement the functionality of forgot password, what someone will do if they forget their password. So you can implement this function in iteration 2, and in the next iteration you can implement login with Gmail or login with Facebook, those kinds of stuff. So you are building one form, one task, that is adding a new login page, but you are doing it in different iterations. Like the way I explained, just three iteration we can implement this function. So this is called iterative model. So you can find similarity of iterative model with incremental model, but don't confuse here. Iterative model and incremental model is different. In iterative model, we are adding new functionality in a repetitive or cyclic manner, right? We start with a simple implementation of a subset of the software requirements, and then we iteratively enhances the versions until the full system is implemented. But in incremental model, the important thing is the whole requirement is divided into various builds. So if you are thinking of building some functionalities or some requirements in a round, then that functionality should be built in the fullest, and there should be no scope for any further requirements or for any further iterations. That functionality should be complete in feature. So that's how incremental model works. But in iterative model, we work with iterations. We implement our system working with different iterations. But in incremental model, for developing one requirement or one functionality, we don't use iterations. So now let's talk about the advantages. The advantages of this model is that there is a working model of the system at a very early stage of the development. So it makes it easier to find functional or design flaws. So if you can find flaws at a very early stage of the development, then you will be able to take corrective measures in a limited budget. So that's the advantage of this model. So now if we talk about the disadvantages that it's applicable only to large and bulky software development projects. That is because it's hard to break a small software into further small serviceable modules or subsystems, right? So that's why it's better for working with big software or big development projects. And here also we are not gathering all the requirements at the very beginning of the entire life cycle. So that's why architectural or design issues may arise later. So when should we use this model? Of course we will use this for big project, not for a small project. And if you are using a new technology, then you can use this iterative model. It will be easier for the development team to learn and work on it. And also, if your resources with needed skill set are not available at that time, we can use this iterative model.